are joining us for a very special announcement. Many of you will be already familiar with the partnership between Lendlord and Property Tribes. We've been collaborating for several months now, and today we're delighted to welcome a third partner into our ever-growing ecosystem of trusted products and services for landlords. And not really surprising, it's about finance, and we all know that finance is the lifeblood of any property business. So it gives us great pleasure to welcome Selena to the Lendlord platform. And joining me from Selena, I've got Darvish and Charlie, and also over in Tel Aviv, I've got Lendlord CEO Aviram Shahar. So welcome everybody to this Zoom call. Selena guys, first of all, it'd be very interesting to hear about the kind of history of Selena and what your vision was.
Sure, thank you, Vanessa. And just want to thank you for inviting us to this interview today. It's very exciting to announce the partnership with Lendlord and Aviram, and we're super excited to see where it goes. Just on Selena and the sort of, I guess, the background, Selena started in 2019 with the idea of bringing to the market a more flexible form of secured finance, whether that is secured lending for business purposes or secured lending for property investment purposes. We thought that looking at the market and the options available to businesses and property investors, and soon we're going to be launching in consumers, so consumers as well, that actually the products on offer aren't as really flexible as the needs of these borrowers. So take property investors as a prime example. There are very few credit facility like or overdraft style products available in the market, but property investors, like anybody, like a business owner or a just an everyday consumer, they have a lot of need for something that is a bit more flexible than just going and getting a buy-to-let mortgage, right? So the vision is to provide flexible and affordable credit. It's secured, whether that's through your residential, if you're a business owner, or your buy-to-let portfolio, if you're a property investor. The idea is to bring something that's a lot more flexible, a lot faster in terms of turnaround times, and something that is technology enabled. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, later. But a big part of Selena, we consider ourselves to be a fintech lender. We're using technology to enhance the journey for, most importantly, the customer, right? We want the journey to be really smooth and seamless for the customer, and enable them to obtain quick and flexible funding. So that was why we started. We're starting in the unregulated market. We're soon to enter the consumer market as well. But the whole vision behind Selena is to provide something that's a lot more flexible than what is currently in the market.
Well, music to my ears, I have to say. And the product that we're going to be showcasing is called the Cross-Charge Credit Line. And I'm just want to bring clarity. Is that kind of secured against one individual property, or can it be secured across the entire portfolio of a landlord?
So we can take a look across a whole portfolio for landlords. They've got many different properties, but we'll pick just the certain properties that have got the right amount of equity for us to pick. Mm-hmm. So essentially it's a secured overdraft. So we might put a first, second or third charge across the whole portfolio, or just a couple of properties, build up a big pot of equity, and then people can just dip in and out of that equity whenever they need it. And they only pay interest for the months and the amount that they're borrowing, mm-hmm. rather than the whole facility for the full term.
Well, my eyes are lighting up at this, Charlie, because to have access to a drawdown facility like this is going to be very, very powerful tool to landlords. I can immediately start seeing the benefits unfolding, particularly in the environment that we're in, where there's a lot of bargains starting to appear, where a lot of landlords are turning to auction rooms, etc. So I think the timing is very serendipitous all round, actually. But Aviram, when you first came across the Selena cross-charge credit line product, why did you think it was going to be such a good fit for Lendlord?
Look, I think that for us it was like natural fit because the vision behind Lendlord is to use technology to streamline processes for property investors and landlords. And I think that one of the main processes is getting finance. And when we discovered Selena as a digital lender, very flexible, that can be basically is a great fit to our technology, because with our engines, we can analyze portfolios, we can identify automatically for user finance opportunities, and everything is basically being done automatically. And I think that integrating it to a digital lender that can take it from this step until completion, offering like the best tailored product for our users, it was like a natural fit for us. So like we are very excited from this opportunity. I think that it can bring a lot of value to our users.
No, I can see the benefits of it straight away. I guess it's interesting to understand what your kind of underwriting criteria is, and the kind of profile of the property investor that you think suits the product.
Sure. So the product is predominantly aimed at that bracket of property investors that is sort of semi-professional to professional. So, you know, we see property investors that have, you know, 3 or 4 properties, and we see others that have sort of 20, 25. Our sweet spot is sort of in between those two figures. We're there to sort of try and service people who want funding very quickly. They don't necessarily have sort of a wide network of advisors or tax planning or strategies. They might be people that actually have full-time jobs. They've been doing a bit of property investing on the side. What that's resulted in is that they've built a portfolio of maybe 5 or 6 properties. They may be stuck in, you know, attractive fixed-term buy-to-let mortgages on those portfolio properties, but they will have amassed some positive equity in them, and we allow them to essentially take a cherry pick, as Charlie said, cherry pick the properties in their portfolio, we place a first, second, or third charge on those properties, and give them this revolving credit facility. A lot of our users, customers, they're using this to purchase properties at auction. That's usually the number one use case, because you need to be really, really quick in showing that you've got the finances, and you need to be ready to move very quickly. And you want to obviously go to an auction and bid with confidence as well. But we also see a lot of landlords that just want to renovate their existing portfolio, or, you know, add extensions to their portfolios, or, you know, there's so many use cases, as you guys know. So yeah, we're looking for sort of that sort of semi-professional to professional property investor. You know, to be eligible for a Selena loan, you must have at least 3 investment properties in your portfolio. You can be using the Selena product to purchase your third, so you can have 2 and be purchasing your third. But for us, that is the sort of watermark for what sort of delineates a professional, semi-professional from just your sort of amateur property investor. So we are looking for sort of relatively qualified people in terms of their experience in property investing, and we think that this is kind of a suitable product for them. You know, it might be people who may have had a bridging loan in the past, but have probably predominantly relied on you know, buy-to-let mortgages. So yeah, hopefully that explains sort of where our sweet spot is. But as you know, in the property world, you see a lot of variance between, you know, each property investor. So we try to make the product work around the customer.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And would you say that the rates that you're offering are commensurate with bridging loans, for example?
I'd say we're slightly under what bridging loan providers typically offer, often significantly under. And I think that's one of the main attractions of our product, is that we don't charge the setup fees that are as high as your typical bridging lender, but we can also be a lot more flexible in terms of which properties we put into the pool of properties that we secure on. So you know, instead of going and getting, you know, 3 bridging loans on 3 of your properties, you can get a Selena loan, which puts a cross charge on those 3 properties, and you only have to go through the application process once. Obviously, we use technology to sort of make that process a lot more sort of smooth and easy and quicker for the actual property investor. So we're here to sort of save property investors time. We're here to give them a really convenient product that has a multi-use purpose, but that also sort of serves their need to, you know, take equity from different parts of their portfolio and wrap it up into one product.
Fantastic. I mean, you've mentioned how technology streamlines the whole underwriting process, but I always like to know, is it a case of the computer says no, or do you have you know, a personal underwrite attached to it as well?
We have a personal underwriter attached to every case that we do. So I think, just to clarify, you know, how we use technology to make the process easier for borrowers is we're using it to enhance the process. Right, enhance it not only for the user, but enhance it for our underwriters. So, for example, every time one of our underwriters actually gets to a case, we've already got a valuation on the property because, you know, we use an automated valuation model. It's a proprietary, you know, model. It's proprietary technology that we've designed. It takes different data points from the market. It looks at liquidity. It looks at comps. It looks at property types. It looks at square footage of the property, and it sort of, the output is a valuation, right? So we're able to do that in a matter of minutes on any given property. So that removes the need to actually take to get a physical valuer out to the property. And so obviously you can imagine when you're sometimes securing on, I think that we've secured on a portfolio of like 5+ properties. That saves a huge amount of time for the customer. And then for our underwriters, you know, they're looking at a case that's already been valued. All they need to do is sort of ascertain affordability and serviceability of the loan. And we have sort of a lot of automated decisioning within our platform that allows them to do that very quickly as well. So there's always a human involved. Even in the valuation model, there is someone overseeing all of its outputs. But I think one way we can sort of further sort of enhance our technological capabilities is by partnering with somebody like Lendlord, right? When we first looked at the Lendlord platform, had our initial discussions with Abraham, we were amazed by how much information and data is housed natively in the Lendlord platform, and I think, we can use that data. We can use a lot of that information, a lot of the portfolio information, a lot of the income information to actually underwrite our loans. So I think, this partnership, a big part of it is like bringing the technologies of Selena and Lendlord together to make the process really, really smooth, really quick, and really painless for property investors.
Absolutely. So Abraham, what's your view on the partnership and how it's going to benefit Lendlord users?
Yeah, so the way we designed the process is like to implement it by steps. The first step that we launched this week is that Selena products are available through the Lendlord app. So our user can access, either it can be like a tracking link so they can check their eligibility to our platform, or they can schedule a call with Charlie and on his Calendly link and basically understand what they can get or not. The second step that should come very soon is to use our engines to understand if a case automatically, of course, can meet Selena's criteria. If this portfolio is eligible to get the funding or not. And I think that the third step, it's also something that we speak, and it's like what Darvish spoke about, like the vision of using technology to streamline processes, is basically also like to package everything. So basically it will be, of course, with the permission of the user, and something that I want to emphasize again. We are not like using the data of our users. We will send it only with the permission of the users. But then basically we can have the lenders package the data they need in order to assess a case. And of course we can take some of the pre-approval process to match the rules of Selena. So, and I think that we can also implement it quite fast as usual. And I think that we can launch it in the near future. And this is like a really a great, I think, message and like that we can deliver to our users.
No, I can see it's going to be an incredibly useful tool. And I think if I come to you, Charlie, you know, we often talk about, you know, tools in an investor's toolbox, and you know, we know that there's standard buy-to-let financing, there's bridging financing, there's second charges, there's remortgages. Landlords, property investors, they need to be aware of all of the funding options open to them. And I think a good way to describe the Selena cross-charge credit line is it's another very innovative tool in the property investors toolbox. And perhaps you could, we've touched briefly on some examples when investors might want to reach for it, but perhaps you could share a few more.
So the joy of the product is we find that a lot of our clients have really long-term fixed rate mortgages with really high early repayment fees. So to get out of those is really expensive for them, and trying to access additional equity, they might have their portfolio geared at maybe 50 or 60%. And we allow them to kind of tap into the additional equity in their properties up to maybe 75%, and allowing them that pot of money to kind of dip in and out of whenever they need without those really expensive fees, and just paying for what they can borrow. So especially if they want to go to auction, they can quickly have that financing available to them whenever they need it.
So it's very, very flexible, isn't it?
Indeed, it's like a halfway house between a further advance on your existing mortgage and an offset mortgage, I suppose. You know, you have, as Charlie alluded to, just complete flexibility on when to draw down and when to repay. It's just a pot of funds to use on your portfolio or to acquire new properties. So as you can imagine, right now, very, very popular in sort of the environment we're in. But we think, you know, in years to come, this will be a really, really sort of a useful product for investors, and hopefully a continuation of a lot of the innovation we're seeing in the property investor space. You know, look at Lendlord. It's really, really interesting that 10 years ago we had a financial crisis, and what came out of that financial crisis was a lot of innovation around consumer lending and business lending. And now, you know, almost 10 years later, we're looking at innovation for property investors, because it's such a huge part of the UK economy. And there are some really innovative products out there, but I think you know, we've really scratched the surface in terms of servicing this demographic, whether it be through a really cool, easy to use property management tool and platform like Lendlord, or through a flexible lender like Selena.
Indeed. Well, this interview has actually only really scratched the surface of what Selena can do and how it can assist property investors with their finance needs. And as we close this out, Avram, have you got any sort of closing thoughts on this? I think it's a wonderful addition to the Lendlord suite of products, and I really think that this whole concept of the collaboration between us all to create these educational resources is also a very important and valuable part of you know, launching the product to our audience.
Yes, totally agree. I think that the combination of if I look at this interview, Property Tribes, Lendlord as a portfolio management software, and Selena as a digital lender, basically describe like how technology, digital tools, digital forums, and education like Property Tribes together can increase the value for property investors, and everyone can benefit from it. And I think for us, it's very, very exciting time, and we look forward like to enhance this partnership with more technology to streamline the entire process.
Indeed. Well, this was just an introductory interview to launch the Selena Cross Lendlord collab. We are actually going to be running a live webinar on Thursday evening where the Selena guys will be joining us once again to go into more detail about the product and how you can use it yourself. So I do hope you'll join us on our live webinar on Thursday evening, where there is indeed a live chat where you can get your questions answered in real time. We will put a link below this video to the registration for Thursday night's live webinar. But if you want to jump straight to accessing the Selena product, then please do, if you haven't already done so, go and create your account on Lendlord, start inputting your data, and if you need any help in anything to do with that, Avram is also on the chat as well on the Lendlord platform. But for now, Darvish and Charlie, thank you very much for joining me on this call. Very excited. I'm actually excited as a property investor myself to learn that there's this very innovative product out there that landlords can and investors can dip into if they need to. So this is just the start of what I hope is going to be a very exciting collaboration.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. Thank you, Avram. And we hope to see you, the viewers, joining us on our live webinar on Thursday evening. But for now, this has just been a brief introduction to Selena and the cross-charge credit line, which they are bringing to the Lendlord and Property Tribes community. And I hope you're as excited as we are.